Hello and welcome to Think Watercolour. Today's demonstration is all about painting in a loose, sketchy style and getting colour values how you want them. I've very quickly sketched this strutting chicken on a sheet of Saunders Waterford 300-gram rough paper, and I'm going to use just four colours: yellow ochre, burnt sienna, ultramarine blue and a small amount of permanent rose. So let's get started. I'm starting with yellow ochre. This is quite a strong mix. It's going to dry much lighter, and as I said at the introduction, this is all about getting your values right. If you mix it too light to start with, it will dry much lighter and won't be what you're expecting. Whilst it looks nice and vibrant now as I'm painting it, it will dry much lighter. I'm just going to use some clear water to soften it and lighten it towards the back of the chicken. And with a damp brush, just lift out a few areas for highlights. This is burnt sienna, again a stronger mix than you would expect. It will dry much lighter. Just wet in wet, blending into the yellow ochre. Letting the two colours mix wet in wet gives me the final colour that I'm looking for. Just dropping in a little bit more of a stronger mix of the burnt sienna in places, just to darken them. This is ultramarine, again dropped in wet onto the burnt sienna and yellow ochre mix. These three colours blending together will make the darker shadows around the front of the chicken, and just dropping in a few shadow areas around the tail feathers. Again wet in wet, letting it all blend together. And whilst this looks nice and dark and vibrant on the page now, it will dry much lighter, and I will probably have to darken the values on the shadow areas. Just using a plastic palette knife just to scrape in some lines of the feathers, just an indication of the feathers. The paper's still pretty damp. While it's very damp, you'll get dark lines. If you let it dry a little bit more, the lines will tend to be whiter. It's all a matter of timing. Practice will do that for you. But I'm quite happy with the dark lines. Not trying to paint every feather, just indicate them. For the legs, I've used a light grey mix with ultramarine and burnt sienna, and I've just put a little bit of the yellow ochre burnt sienna mix underneath the chicken as a sort of a shadow area, just to ground the image. As you can see, I've let that dry, and that's much lighter than I want it, so I'm going to eventually darken some of the shadow areas. The rest of it's fine, it's just the shadows have dried a little bit light and a little bit towards the blue side of things. This is the permanent rose, just a little bit of permanent rose around the head. Just a touch of grey to create some of the shadow areas and delineate the shape of the head. When it comes to getting values right, it's all a question of practice. Get to know your palette, get to know how the colours dry, try mixing them in different strengths and see how they dry. And you'll see they always dry much lighter, so always bear that in mind when you are doing a quick sketch like this. Just using a rigger to put a few darker lines, just show us some of the feathers. Don't try and paint everything, it's just a quick demonstration sketch, and the eye will do the rest. As long as you suggest what's there, the brain will know that it's a chicken with feathers, so don't get too pedantic about it. This is burnt sienna, quite a strong mix again, just to darken those shadow areas that have dried too light for my liking. And as you can see, once you start to put a next layer on, it will come out nice and dark. It's when you put the darks in, it just brings a painting to life. I've let that dry and I've just placed a piece of copier paper just to shield from this splattering, just splattering some spots here and there, just as if the chicken's kicking up dirt and bits as it walks along, and then just smoothing them out at the base. And I'm pretty much done. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this useful. Always remember, practice, practice. Try mixing your colours darker than you need them and see how they come out. If you found this video useful, please give it a like. It always helps with YouTube. And do subscribe and hit the notification bell if you are new to this channel. And thanks again for watching.